So basically we were discussing about this database management system introduction, right? So how it is important to an organization and why it is challenging to introduce a DBMS to an organization, right? Then we'll move to the next slide. Data and information are becoming as important a business resource as money, material, and people, right? So, you know, this nowadays, this data and information is also considered as an important resource because, uh, like same as for money, material, and people, right? Businesses are realizing the competitive advantage they can gain over their competition through useful information and data nowadays with the march of time with the invent of new technologies and all. So people have realized that there's a competitive advantage. So that means if you have proper database management systems in your organization, basically that is data and information which are not available with your competitors, right? Then obviously these organizations can, you know, take advantage from this take a competitive advantage because their competitors don't have those resources. So this is a resource which can be used to generate more profits and to uplift your organization. So we'll focus on traditional file environment first before going for database management system. The data hierarchy in traditional file management system consists of fields, records, files, and databases. Yeah. So in a traditional file management system, right, they had all these fields. So what are the fields? So fields means, so for an example, what you call this student ID, right? Then course, right? And then date, grade. So these are fields, right? So they are either known as fields or attributes, right? And then we have records. Records means, let's say for there's a student who has this student ID as 39044 and he is participating for the let's say information system course 101, right? And then date is uh, date he took the exam, maybe it's February 6th, right? So F46, likewise it mentions like that. And then the grade is a B plus. So that's a particular record of that student. So that's a record, right? So a record is a collection of fields or attributes, right? Then what's a file? A file means a collection of records. So you can see in the file you have all these three records are available, right? For three students. So that's a file. And then what is a database? So database means collection of all these files. So let's say course files, financial files, personal files. When you collect all those together, so that's known as a database. So this is how the traditional file management system works. So traditional file environment, we'll continue with that. So I have to check whether there are people who are waiting in the see, yeah, there are some people waiting. So it's hard for me also to admit all these people one by one. So, right, okay. So hereafter, please don't ask your friends to come. I mean, like, still. So just have some, be ethical, right? So if if the lecturer is supposed to conduct the lecture on time, then you are also supposed to at least attend the lecture within 20 minutes, right? So just because we have a pandemic situation in the country or in the entire world, so it doesn't mean that you can work like as you wish, right? So there should be some sort of a protocol that you should adhere. So let's say now you are not studying and you are working in the industry, so then you should have some people, there are rules and guidelines, right? So you have to you won't get money just because you wait at home, right? You will get money once you work on. Likewise, in the university system also, you should make sure that you, unless there's a reasonable factor, you just attend the lectures properly and in the same manner they should flow. We can't expect that this will be resolved at least by the year 2021, right? So we can't expect, we don't know what will happen or not. So just have some, be ethical, have some manners, right? So be responsible and attend the lectures. And if you don't want to attend the lectures, then get rid of, don't think of participating for the quizzes. So that's your own decision, right? So don't try to manipulate these things, because then only we also have to be some kind of strict. Otherwise, earlier, I did not made the things this much of I didn't introduce this much of a strict protocol. Now I had to do, because you were trying to take advantage of the situation. So don't let that repeat again. So then I can be flexible, more flexible, right? So I also want to be more flexible and friendly with you guys. So so please support that. Okay. uh, Right. Traditional file environment. An entity is basically a person, place, thing, or event about which we maintain information. Yeah. So basically an entity. So in the previous, regarding the previous slide, right? So what's the entity here? The entity is, the student is an entity, right? Because we collected information. Uh, we collected all those fields, information regarding these fields of that particular person, student, right? So that student is an entity. So an entity can be basically a person, place, thing, or event about which we maintain information. Each characteristic or quality describing an entity is called an attribute. So as I told you earlier also, each characteristic or quality describing the entity is called an attribute. So for an example, I told you student ID is an attribute, and then maybe his age is an attribute. Then we had some other examples like course, date, grade. So all these are attributes of the entity, right? Okay. Each record have an identifier to uniquely identify them. Yeah. So now you know what's a record. So this is a record, right? So in order to, let's consider all these three records. So how you identify these records uniquely in a unique manner? So in this scenario, it's student ID, because student ID is a unique attribute, right? So it cannot be repeated, because when you consider your batch also, you can't have two people with the same ID, right? Likewise. Yeah. So some other examples are customer ID, invoice number. So these are unique stuff too. So all these are identifiers that are used to uniquely identify these records. Right. Yes. So in and again, these people doing rejoining. I assume that they rejoin. Okay. Right. So then we'll discuss about how we are going to access records in a traditional file environment, right? So one methodology that we use is the sequential file organization, right? So sequential file organization means here it contains records organized by the order in which they were entered. So sequentially, the records are entered. So whenever some record appears, it is added first. So the next one as the second item. Likewise, all these records are added in an order, right? In the order they were entered, right? The order of the records is fixed. So in this scenario, the order of the records is fixed. So whatever the record which came first will be first forever. Likewise, can be read or written only sequential. So here, these records can be read or written only sequential, one by one, one after the other, right? Then we have another approach, direct or random file organization, right? So here, direct access, by the name itself, you can understand, direct access is provided to specific records or other elements within the file. So if you want to select some particular record, right, maybe you search with the student ID, let's say for an example, right? Then you can directly access that. Likewise. Okay. So what are the problems that we have in a traditional file environment? Problems resulting from the traditional file environment include, so one is data redundancy. Why? Because duplicate data in multiple files leading to data inconsistency. Yeah. So if you have data like this in multiple files, if you have the same data, that means duplicate data, then it leads to data inconsistency, right? And data redundancy will be there, right? So basically data redundancy means having the same data in multiple places, multiple files, right? Then what is data inconsistency? It means, so you know, the same data is available in many places, no? So whenever you make a change in one place, that won't be the same change won't happen to other places, right? So that is inconsistent, not the same, right? So data inconsistency is there. Then poor data security. So you are not sure about the security of the data, right? So data security is very low, right? Lack of data sharing. So in a traditional file environment, these the capability to share this data is so less. It is at a minimized level. Right. Then what are the others? There are some other problems also. Islands of information, right? So islands of information means, so as we discussed earlier also, different departments maintain their own data files, right? So and also they might be describing the same entity. As I told you, the student or the customer or the product, the same entity they are describing, right? But it's very possible that each file will have different information or attributes in records concerning the same entity. Yeah, let's say now if you consider the student entity, right? So in the examination department, so if they are going to have this in a traditional file, then they will just keep track of the what you call the student ID, ID number, and then the marks and the course module and the respective grade, right? But when you consider about the another department, let's say maybe finance department, so they don't worry about these marks now. So they will just keep track of whether the exam fees are paid and whether people who are receiving scholarships, they have received their monthly scholarships. Likewise, right? So different departments are going to have different information because they are going to have different various attributes, right? Costs big dollars to bring the islands together, resolve data conflicts between them. So you can see islands of information means these information are isolated. So when you want to combine all these information, isolated information together, then it's going to be so expensive, right? And also there will be data conflicts because different data entries and data, I mean attributes. And so when you are going to combine all those together, there will be conflicts, right? So it's hard to, it is expensive to resolve those conflicts as well. Right. Then we'll discuss about this database management system. So I told you the simple acronym DBMS is basically a software program. So here the same file management system, traditional ones, done using a software program, right? So here it allows to centralize data. So no need to, no need for these departments, no need to separately store this data. So in a centralized platform, which is a database, the data that is required for the whole organization will be stored. So that is why it is centralized, right? Manage them efficiently. Yeah, so the data can be managed efficiently because every department can access those data, right? And then data inconsistencies won't be there because it's just a single database, right? And provide access to the stored data by application programs. Yeah, through application programs, actually. Application programs means user interfaces and more. People can access these stored data, right? Separates the logical view of the database, how the data is perceived by the end users, and the physical view, how the data is actually stored on disk. Yeah. So basically, the database management system actually it's the what's this? Uh, I don't know why this mentions the meeting will end in 10 minutes. Give me a second. Give me a second. I have to resolve this issue. It mentions that the meeting will end in 10 minutes time. Give me a second. So there seems to be an issue. So if this disappears all of a sudden, please log into the same link again, okay? Using the Moodle, because it's supposed to end in like 2 minutes. So please log into the same, log into Zoom using the same link that is given in the Moodle, okay? Right, so anyway, until it disappears, I'll continue with the lecture. Okay, so yeah, so the database management system actually it separates this logical view of the database. Logical view means what actually end users see, right? How they see the, how they collect or perceive, how they get data from the database. So that's the logical view. And then the physical view means actually where the data is stored. So basically, this logical view and physical view is separated by this database management system, right? Okay, right. So this is the database management system diagram, right? So you can see, so there's a database, human resources database, right, which is provided in green color, right? So you can see different attributes for the regarding employees are provided there, right? And then, mm, so this is actually what. This is the place where actually data is stored. So the physical view, right? Physical view is this. So this is the logical view, right? So this is the logical view. So benefits view, payroll view. So that means when the users enter their, let's say, employee ID, they will see this data, right? So this is the logical view and this is the physical view. So database management system actually uh, separates these two layers. A single human resources database provides many different views of data depending on the information requirements of the user. There wasn't a problem yet, no? Let's see. Okay.